our wisdom life will endure. The initial verse, those who are peaceful and stable attain the greatest benefits. Okay, peaceful and stable. So peaceful and stable comes from our inner being, it's our inner self. I'll try to explain a little bit later. And actually, I wanted to show you a picture of what I mean the inner peace between a normal person and someone who has attained that state, but I don't have the what you call that time to sort of load that slide on. But what I'm trying to say is that this is a very profound state of being, which I will try to touch on later. Those who know to be content have the greatest wealth. You see, this being contented, when you cannot be peaceful and stable unless you're contented within, okay? So with an upright mind upon the great body path, our bodies and minds will act virtuously, and wisdom life will endure forever. So this is the part about the virtues of the heart, and the door to the mind is through the heart of virtues, and then only then you can get to live the wisdom life. And this wisdom life is the one that will enable us to take us into the mind continuum. So the initial master's explanation. What brings the greatest happiness in life? You must have peace and stability. You must also be contented. So this is a point that the fundamental part is we got to learn to be content with our life, because when we live this life, we have all these life becomings that come to us, and all these life becomings that unfold before us are all from our past karmic causes and meet the conditions in this life, and they manifest. So if we then, when we then apply the Dharma in our daily life, we should therefore learn to accept what's going to come. So when you learn to accept what's going to come, that's when you get contented. But to get the state of contentment, we must grow in our consciousness, and not just in understanding the Dharma, but go to the level that you actually realize what the Dharma means in your life. Okay, this is the rising consciousness. So that rising consciousness will then develop your character, to be calm, to be gentle, to be kind, to be cheerful, to be merciful, and be peaceful. Now, when you reach the state of that character, then next is to grow in your inner development. Okay, so from being contented, go into the inner development. So this inner development, what is this peace and stability then that one would have within our inner self? Is, first of all, you want to have peace, you need to have your inner joy and inner hope. When we have inner joy, inner hope, you will get your inner peace and your stability. And from growing from peace to stability, it's about growing in what you call the two things, your inner love and your inner knowing. You see, the inner knowing is where you gain your spiritual insights of the Dharma. But this peace and stability, when you have built the character, and the character cannot be built unless you have raised your consciousness, is, so you just imagine, you look at this, if you're calm and gentle, when you're calm and gentle in your character, naturally you will grow to have inner joy, the joy within yourself. When you're gentle and you're kind, you have this hope, and that hope is the illumination within you that you can give to others. Okay, that's come from the gentleness and your peacefulness of your character. When you're peaceful and you're cheerful, you have your inner peace. And when you peaceful and merciful, and merciful meaning you're forgiving, and that's where you have your inner love, because nothing is going to upset you. So it's just like you to a child, no matter what the child does, you're already forgiving to the child, right? And so that's where your inner love will come in. And from there, and when you have that merciful character in you, and you're peaceful in your character, and that you can be stable and be calm in your own ways and tranquil, and that's where you gain your spiritual insights. So that's why, that's where when you have this, that's where this happiness, and this happiness is beyond the worldly happiness. So the Buddha taught unconditioned Dharma, which is all Dharma, which is that all Dharma is empty. Now this is not easy for many people to understand, because if Dharma is empty, what is there to learn? And so when this Dharma is empty, is that the uncovering of the inner nature of us. So if you then go back, though I mentioned a couple of times, and sometimes I notice that this prayer is being chanted and played in some of the Tzu Chi events I've attended. It's the Heart Sutra. So in the Heart Sutra, and it says there, and it's a conversation between Sariputra and Bodhisattva, Gan En Bodhisattva. It says there is no attainment, and no knowledge and no attainment. There is no knowledge and attainment. Bodhisattva develops a perfect wisdom. There's no fear. Because there's no attainment, there's no hindrances, because otherwise there is a grasping of attainment in ourselves. So bringing together causes and conditions result in a conditioned phenomena, contrived things of all different colors, shapes, and names. So this is the world we live in. But the thing is that we want to grow, and obviously we have to go this conditioned phenomena. It's with us all the time. But the thing is that we grow from this conditioned phenomena, and we understand this emptiness, and within the conditioned phenomena, then we can realize a wondrous existence and go back into unconditioned Dharma, which is the true emptiness. And that's when the wondrous existence and true emptiness can come about. All things are created by the mind. All things are inherently empty. So there's no need to take issue with other people. You see, all things are empty. That's only when you have reached the state of inner knowing, okay, which is the last stage that I just mentioned to have been with stability. And that is the inner knowing. That inner knowing can only arise when you gain spiritual insights into the teachings, because it's like a parent looking to a child with great love. And even the child may be naughty or transgressing in their own ways, but the parent, especially when they are very young, you take joy in seeing them around. And even though they've been naughty, but you still enjoy the child at an age. Right? So this is, that's why in the chapter 3 of the Lotus Sutra, I talk about the children. And it's a great love that the elder has, which is in case of the Buddha. But we cannot be wallowing in that state all the time, right? And then we get stuck with that. And then we understand that that is empty. That's when we step back and withdraw ourselves. We do not attach to that worldly joy. Instead, we transform that into inner joy within us. Those who know to be contented tend to have the greatest wealth. The wealth, the great body power we need is an upright mind. So when we are contented to give us peace and stability, and when we do that, when we have the inner knowing within us, we will be walking the path with an upright mind. So this was some life. And then following on from there, the Buddha had originally wanted to teach a state of enlightenment, that of Buddhahood, where you are one with your universe. Now, we all understand that, and that's what the vastness of the wisdom is about. And obviously, when one is at that stage, naturally become free and easy. But we unenlightened beings could not comprehend it, so had to devise skillful means. And so it's like, and that's why the Buddha, first of all, he taught the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is not easy for us to understand. But if we understand now the principles in the Dharma, we can go back and understand this. What is this state of enlightenment and one with the universe, which Master is now leading us on to. So then, because of this, the Buddha patiently gave the provisional teachings. And these provisional teachings was necessary because with different capability, we couldn't understand what is this state of enlightenment. And this was the skillful means that they deployed. Only then did he ask us to take big steps forward and walk this path. And how, having understood the provisional teachings, and we walk on to look at to understand the true teachings of the one great vehicle. So the main goal of learning in Buddha's way is to realize the principles, to comprehend the great path. Because without realizing the principles, it kind of jump straight on the great path, because it's hard to understand what the state of enlightenment is. So what comes after comprehending the path? Forming supreme aspiration. And what is this great aspiration that we want to form? Is the aspiration of a bodhisattva, which is about being encapsulated in the bodhisattva vows that we undertake. So therefore, this aspiration that we undertake is not just an aspiration for this life, but is lifetime under lifetime until one attains bodhisattvahood, standing at the door of Buddhahood. And that is that aspiration that we should undertake. After we take the Dharma to heart, we must then teach other people. And that's what the vow of the Bodhisattva is. The first vow of the Bodhisattva is to help liberate us, help to deliver or liberate us as sentient beings. So to help to do that, we have to then teach and guide others. This is dwelling deeply into the Sutra treasury, and it has to be, because this is sharing the Dharma with others. So after dwelling deeply into the treasury, what happens after that? Then we have the wisdom like the ocean. Now, why wisdom like the ocean? But then, you see, in the steps of learning, learning is in the Dhamma and applying in our daily life, and then we grow in the wisdom life. So these are stages of learning. One of the stages of learning, at a higher stage of learning, is actually teaching. Okay, because when you teach, you learn. And that's where the wisdom will grow. And that's why wisdom like the ocean. And so if the stages for learning I shared with you before, you're seeing, hearing, experiencing, contemplating, realizing, like inner knowing, serving, forgiving, teaching. So it's level 9 of that learning, and that is already going to a very high level of living the wisdom life. What comes after that? Harmoniously lead the people without obstruction. Because once you reach that level, being able to do that, you obviously understand the Dharma well, and you'll be harmonious with people. And you can do so without obstruction. After completing the Dharma, you must go among the people to transform them. So in our life, we have all these life becomings, right? That come to us, I just explained earlier. So this phenomena, if it has not risen, then it will be in a period of the future. So it could be future, meaning that it's still in this life, that yet to come. It could be in the future, in our next life. But if the phenomena has already risen, has not ceased, then we are facing it presently. So it's like this COVID-19 pandemic, which are facing right now. Would there be another one, which is not a recent yet, will appear in the future? There may be. So, and this is the part that relate back to what Master is saying, that if we want to be able to live through those and understand this, then we got to learn the Dharma. So, and then so that we can, number one, we can make peace and accept and purify our past transgression. And number two is that the collective karma part of it, especially on the environment, we do our own part as much as we can, do the best of our ability, to lighten that karmic retribution that may be coming. So we should keep the Dharma in every thought, accumulate infinite Dharma. And this is what we do in the period of the present, in this present life that we have. And because we have a limited time, we can accumulate as much as we can. But always remember that one realization that you know that you have realized from a teaching will open to another door of realization. So the lessons learned. We should cultivate ourselves until we are like Kuan Yin, Manjushri, Maitreya, or Samantabhadra. These are all Dhammakaya bodhisattvas and no longer unenlightened beings. So all these Kuan Yin, Manjushri, Maitreya, and Samantabhadra are the four great bodhisattvas, are often referred to as the Mahasattvas. So why specifically these four that Master mentioned? Because these four are, in the Mahayana practice, are the four great bodhisattvas that we often find in most Mahayana temples. Okay, so the only one that Master didn't mention is Siddhigarbha in here. So there are four. If you have a chance to go on a pilgrimage trip to China, there are five sort of abodes that for, from hundreds of years, more than 1,000 years actually, that they have dedicated these places, and each of them, when you go, you'll find them they are which hard to, for me to experience, but you feel the energy in that. So Kuan Yin Bodhisattva in China, the place is dedicated to her is the Butosan. Near Butosan, next to it, when you come to the mainland, there's Stratusan, that's where the Maitreya, the dedicated to Maitreya. But there's also a big story of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva in her own compassion, and there is a particular temple called Pukenchi, where there was a big story that the Japanese monk was trying to retrieve the Kuan Yin image into China, and they just couldn't retrieve. And when they tried to take the image out, it was hindered by a lot of seaweeds that come out that did not allow the boat to get in across. Okay, but that's part of the story. Manjushri, the abode is in Wutai-san, and that's a Mandapara in Elmei-san. So living bodhisattvas are still part of the 9 Dhamma realms. Why 9 Dhamma realms? Okay, so they are you got the 6 realms, right? For us. Okay, plus the next one will be the Saravakas or Arahats. After that will be the Prajika Buddhas. And after that will be the Bodhisattvas. And then you add one more with the Buddha realm, then you get 10 Dhamma realms. So to learn the Buddha's way, we must first of all stabilize our minds. And so how to stabilize minds, which I already explained to you all. So we must unceasingly pass on the Dhamma lineage, and this is what we have to do. And as a torchbearer of the teaching we have learned, it's only incumbent upon us that we pass it down to others. So in contemplation. So you have to face the distractions on your path. And that's our, as I mentioned, the phenomena, it will arise. Absolutely, reason it will arise. So not this time, it will be in the future. And these are the life becomings we have to face. So even though we walk the path, we have to face all the distractions on our path. And the Buddha had to face that. So understand what these distractions are. And so this is important. That's why when we apply the Dharma in us, so we do not get consumed by the distraction, but we apply the Dharma to the distraction so that we be patient and stable to address those distractions. So they are the becomings that can take your mind off from your practice, often without you knowing. Because, and this is like being hypnotized by the distraction, because by being hypnotized by the distraction, because we react to it with our mind consciousness. But if we elevate our consciousness beyond our mind, how can the mind be hypnotized? Because you will be rising above your mind consciousness. That is why you need to train to grow your awareness consciousness so that you do not lose your mind consciousness. And that's what I just explained earlier. So this distraction can come in the form of life of pleasures. And this is what the life of pleasure we get consumed, we don't even know. Relationships, and sometimes we get afflicted by this. And self-infliction that you inflict to your own self. So we need to understand that. So in contemplation on relationship, correcting a relationship, you will realize that mistakes are meant to be corrected. And this is why we need to have own self-reflection so that we are aware. So unless we have self-awareness, you don't even know what to correct. You cannot be perfect without making mistakes. Without mistakes, one cannot correct oneself. So in perfecting yourself, you lose the mistaken self to perfect the unerring non-self. The unerring non-self is the one that you have grown in your inner development and be able to walk the path peacefully and stable. And there is no boundary in the non-self, only emptiness and oneness with all. Because when you realize that state of non-self meaning you got no boundary between you and me and anybody else. And that's when this emptiness and oneness with all will be realized. But make mistakes. Then we say sometimes when we look at it, oh, I got so much karmic seeds that I have to deal with. You know, always remember, all enlightened beings were once unenlightened. Sinners were, all saints were once sinners. So therefore, we know, and that's why we need to have that faith. We need to have that aspiration to attain that level because they have walked the path. They have shown us. Okay, Gan En brothers and sisters.
Gan En so much, BrotherChin. You are so transfixed now. Your sharing, beautiful sharing, great sharing. Gan En so much, BrotherChin.